Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. With fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host. I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
What it do, folks?
And Trimboli.
What's up?
All right, this week, since the fantasy football season is officially over, we're going to transition into the end of the year stuff. So year in review, specifically segments. We'll do that over the next couple of weeks. This week specifically is quarterbacks. So yeah, so you won a couple. What you said? You won a couple of your money leagues this year.
Yeah, I was in 2 leagues. I was only in 2 leagues this year. Didn't do too hot in our personal league. However, I did win the championship in a money league I was in. So
yeah, well that's good. Trimboli, how did we fare this year?
Well, 1 and 2 my championships.
All right, not bad. We also won our listener league, which was not a surprise, but glad that we were able to participate with those guys.
Yeah.
So shout out to Billy 079 for winning the listener league portion part of it. So
good job.
He's gonna have his shirt, his championship ring, and everything sent out to him soon enough. So shout out to him again for winning it. I ended up winning the personal league this year. First time, shocking. I felt like my team was actually gonna suck towards the beginning of the year.
Well, they did.
It did, and then all of a sudden they rounded a corner about a quarter of the way through and actually started transitioning to actually winning like I thought they might initially. So
you had the better team, so.
I did, but I mean that doesn't always translate into fantasy football wins unfortunately. So, but Thacker and I were in the championship, and I beat him by I think
16.
It was like I was gonna say it was not
16.
a lot. Uncomfortable.
He needed Jared Cook to come up with a 20 burger on Monday night, and he only got 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a 4 burger.
Yeah, 4 burger. That's not going through McDonald's drive-thru. That's just you got a 4
ordering
burger.
off the dollar menu. That's the problem.
So, anyway, so for our first personal league, I ended up finishing first. So, which was excited to actually finally win one. Been on both spectrums of good and bad. So. But anyways, all right, let's go ahead and get into our year in review, specifically the quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks.
All right, year in review, specifically quarterback position. So we're going to be going into all the different quarterbacks as to where we ranked them in preseason and how they actually fit, what the actual final top 13 were for the fantasy football season this year. So, but this segment is sponsored by Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack has fully customizable up to like 100 different ways that you can customize your own personal fantasy football trophy, all the way from the topper all the way to the base of like the different pillar colors and everything else, the logos on it. They're fully customizable, and they don't just have the winning trophies, they also have loser trophies as well. So if you are looking for something to kind of humiliate the loser of your fantasy football league, they also have those as well,
which is always good.
Yes,
absolutely.
So we made it simple for you guys. You can check the link below with whether it's in the YouTube or if it's on the podcast side. If not, and you're watching this on DATV, you can go to our website and click on the tab under More, and there will be fantasy trophies and rings, and it'll take you right to Trophy Smack's website. If you do buy a trophy through them, if you put in the promo code TH8FF ring, all caps, that's TH8FF ring, all caps, they will get you a free championship ring with the purchase of your trophy. Also, you get free shipping, which is not a bad deal. So,
Nice.
All right, so let's get into that. Now, I'll go through and kind of talk about how we ranked them for fantasy football purposes. Do you think we should just go through like the top 13, how they actually finished, and then kind of talk about where we had them positionally ranked wise, or do you want to talk about our preseason ranks and then kind of match it up?
I'd go through how the players really finished, and then we'll go through and see how we had them ranked.
Okay. All right. So number 1, Patrick Mahomes finished. I mean, he was next closest guy was like what 60 or 70 fantasy points away. So not not close.
76 fantasy points in between 1 and 2.
Yeah, so kind of a
Unreal.
drop-off when you go from 1 to 2 in a quarterback. So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes won a lot of people probably some fantasy championships.
Yeah, they got him late too.
Right. That's the biggest thing. So, I don't see him even in our top 13 rankings. So, I think we had him respectively. I think we had him somewhere right around 15 or 16. And it was just because we didn't know high and low. We didn't know exactly what we were going to get with Patrick Mahomes. We knew the type of offense he ran in college. We just didn't know how good he was going to be. And, I mean,
You saw flashes of the arms in the preseason, but he was overthrowing guys. It just didn't look
He was
comfortable.
throwing interceptions.
And then all of a sudden, like,
The season starts, and it was like, boom.
yeah,
yeah,
Ready to roll.
I was surprised by how quickly he took off in such a quick manner. And, I mean, it transitioned. And when we get into the wide receiver show in a couple weeks, you'll see where Tyreek Hill finished, which kind of correlates with Patrick Mahomes, obviously. So, Travis Kelce as well. So, so then Matt Ryan came in at second. Like you said, what was it, 76 fantasy points difference between first and second place.
Yep.
And we ended up having Matt Ryan as our 13th consensus quarterback. So I had him at the lowest at 15. Blackburn had him at 12. You had him at 14, Trimboli. So,
Well, that's because it was based on what we've seen the previous year with the running backs with Sarkisian. We thought that was going to carry over into this year, and it just wasn't the case. Calvin Ridley came on strong this year.
True.
Right.
Austin Hooper turned into a weapon this year.
Well, the running back position kind of went away.
Yes.
When Devontae Freeman went down,
Yep.
Tevin Coleman really never stepped up to the player that we thought he was going to be. So they threw the ball a ton.
Yep.
well, I mean, and Ito Smith was not like the pass catching back that he was kind of like the steady.
He had a 1 or 2 game, and then he kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
Right.
But
and then he got hurt.
They were just throwing it to Julio.
Yeah, they finally, I mean, how many weeks did we see that Julio went through without a touchdown but was just blowing it up with receptions and yards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think he's the leader, isn't he? Or he's top 3.
he's got to be, I think he's like number 2 or 3, but either way, still, I mean, Matt Ryan had a great year, and Steve Sarkisian actually allowed him to do what he does best, which is spread the ball around and spread the offense in general around so they can kind of get in those gaps in like for zones and whatnot. But yeah, I was going to say, personally, I was not expecting this type of Matt Ryan. I thought we were going to see from 2017 where he just kind of struggled at times. So, and then number 3, Big Ben Roethlisberger coming in. Surprised. I mean, yes and no, because we all thought with no Le'Veon Bell, this offense might tank a little bit. But we also figured he's probably going to have to throw more because we're not sure what we're getting with James Conner.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we didn't expect Connor to come in and just blow the doors off like he did either.
No. So I think the offense really, I mean, I hate to say it for Le'Veon Bell and his case, but the offense really did not skip a beat until probably, maybe 3/4 of the way of the season is when they kind of hit a few speed bumps offensively because the run game wasn't really doing a whole lot. And then James Conner got hurt. Jalen Samuels stepped right in and pretty much kind of took over where he picked up. So
are you saying that these guys are system running backs?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't think Le'Veon is. I still think he's a transcending back. And I think the offense at the end, you saw why it kind of sputtered for Pittsburgh, is they can't rely on just running the ball. You can do that with Le'Veon. You can hand the ball off 30 times to him. I don't think you could do that with Connor or Samuels. And I think you saw that. That's why their offense kind of took a hit near the end. Now, I don't know what Le'Veon's going to be after having a whole year off, though.
I think he'll be fresh. Kind of like what Adrian Peterson was last year. He had the whole year off, and this year he goes for 1,000 yards.
Now, if he's got that work ethic like Adrian Peterson has, because he's just a totally different beast all to himself.
Right.
Then, yeah. But then again, if he goes to Indianapolis is where he wants to go.
I've heard that.
That could be an interesting matchup.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, for fantasy purposes, that would be great. But from a just NFL standpoint, that would be good as well, because now you've got a quarterback, Andrew Luck, who has proved all year that he is healthy enough to be successful. You got T.Y. Hilton, who's going to be there. If they can get a decent complimentary wide receiver. I mean, I'm not saying that Eli Rogers is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying somebody kind of like a Calvin Ridley to a Julio, where you can go get a top talent wide receiver.
Devontae Parker.
Right. Or somebody to be somebody who doesn't have to be the guy that can kind of feed off of the defense, trying to take away, I should say, Hilton.
And you got Bell.
Then you got Bell brought in then.
Ebron.
Yeah.
That'd be
Doyle. I mean, they got a bunch of guys.
Nasty.
and their offensive line has improved. Their defense has gotten better. I mean, I just think that Le'Veon Bell could roll into a pretty good situation if he were to sign with the Colts. So, let's see. Deshaun Watson coming in at 4. Blackburn was, I think, you were the highest at 3 with him. He was our consensus 5. I had him at 5. Trimboli had him at 8. And you stuck to your guns about it. I mean, you early in the preseason and throughout the whole season, I mean, you never wavered on saying you thought Deshaun Watson was a top 4 quarterback.
I drafted him.
Right. I mean, and Hopkins and him both are up there. I mean, they basically did it all over again, but this time instead of it a 6-game sample, it was a full season sample, which is which you weren't sure.
Like 2 or 3 games where, they kind of fell off, but for the most part, Hopkins and Watson were on fire all year.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, Lamar Miller had games where he kind of helped that offense kind of keep going.
Kuti helped out.
Yeah, he came in there at times. Will Fuller had a couple good games before he was hurt. I mean, the offense as a whole did very well, and the defense stepped up, which was nice to see as well. So I think that kind of took some pressure off of Watson.
Well, they're staying healthy for one. J.J. Watt's been on the field.
Right. Well, they weren't having to put 30+ points on a team to keep in it.
He didn't turn the ball over like at the rate he was doing last year.
Right.
Which really helps his numbers. So
most definitely. So I mean, he ended up finishing with 309. Ben was at 319. And Matt Ryan was at 321. So just a couple points between Matt Ryan and Big Ben even.
Yeah. Right.
So let's see. Aaron Rodgers coming in at 5. Even though he kind of had a down year, he still finished top 5.
Oh yeah, I mean he was out. What, the first game?
Yeah, he was
that Bears game. Yeah, where he got his knee tweaked.
So I mean, he was playing hurt. I mean that's why his numbers were down from what we're used to seeing, at least with Aaron Rodgers.
But, I mean, he ended up battling through the rest of the season.
Plus the last quarter, maybe third, they discovered they had a run game in Aaron Jones, and that took the pressure off of him too.
True. So they did that. I mean, Devonta Adams is the #1 fantasy wide receiver this year, blew up. So even with Aaron Rodgers having a struggling offensive season for him statistically, I mean, Jimmy Graham never panned out like we thought he was going to or he should have. And then the run game, it was good enough. It was good enough to keep the pressure off of Rodgers with the bad knee. The offensive line, even though it was kind of like banged up at times, it still did its job to protect. And the defense was still the crappy defense the Packers have put out on the field for the past I don't know how many years, honestly. So
since their existence.
Yeah,
besides Ray Nitschke.
Right. So I'm hoping that now they've got a new coach coming in, whoever that may be next year. Mike McCarthy is no longer the coach. He got fired about, halfway, 3/4 of the way through the season. So it is what it is, unfortunately.
Come to Washington.
Right. So
he's rumored somewhere.
I don't even know.
I just want Jay Gruden to go bye-bye.
Man, that's going to drive me insane. I just read that. He was rumored to go somewhere.
I don't know.
They're looking into him.
But for Aaron Rodgers, he was actually our consensus across the board, #1. Like, we all had him as our top quarterback.
Like we talked about, they had Devontae Adams, Cobb, Jimmy Graham. Like, we thought, okay, he's just going to go in there and go nuts. Yeah.
But I mean, I think the injury and then I think the overall ups and downs of the offensive play calling kind of struggled. So
I think that injury was more. I think it was worse than what they were giving up.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something comes out that he's having some sort of off-season surgery that's going to put him out of preseason potentially.
I mean, think of it. It was a revolving door at the #2 wide receiver spot too all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cobb, Dron Allison, MVS. I mean, he just had a new guy in
Quantum St. Brown. I mean, they all just kind of rotated. Yeah. And even when they were all healthy, it was like it just was a flip of a coin who was going to be the second best wide receiver on the team for the week.
It didn't matter. Devontae Adams was the mainstay.
Most definitely. So
and that's why his numbers reflected it.
Yeah. Let's see. #6, Drew Brees. Let's see. I had him at 6. You had him at 8, Blackburn, and then Trimboli also had him at 6, and he was our consensus 7. So pretty well spot on where we had him. We thought that the passing game was going to increase a little bit, but not enough to be drastic for him. I mean, we all talked about it. We figured, even with Ingram being out, we figured that Kamara was going to see a bunch of rushes, a lot of carries, and a lot of checkdowns, and that we would see Michael Thomas would get involved, and that would be about it. I mean, they would kind of flip the coin as to who would be the best second wide receiver, but we knew Kamara was going to be a heavy dose, and we knew Ingram was going to be used. And it's what they did in 2017. I mean, they pretty much rolled with whoever it was offensively, run game wise.
Yeah.
That was the hot hand. So, and this year it was no different. I just think that they were trying to save him from throwing a ton this year, for good or for bad. But so it reflects it. He didn't throw the ball much more than he did last year. Honestly,
They started off hot. Michael
Yeah.
Thomas was hot at the beginning of the year, and then that kind of like slowed down once Ingram came back and they went more run heavy.
Right. They went kind of more of the traditional power eye and more up the between the tackle rushing type
What's
stuff.
crazy about what Breeze this year is what his. I mean, if you look at his floor here, almost 6 points in one game. I mean, a little less than 6 points. That's
bad.
not what you want out of your starting quarterback on
No.
your fantasy team. Is 6 points.
Yeah.
No, and he was being drafted as like the number 2 or 3 quarterback this past year. So behind Rodgers. But yeah, I was say we're looking at the stat route comparable table, so we can kind of see the different quarterbacks, their highs, their lows, like their ceiling, their floor, how many points they had overall, and how many points per game they were averaging. So, and then it actually tells you how many games they actually played, so that way you can kind of bank on.
Right.
So like Cam Newton only played 14 games, but still finished in the top 13. I mean,
It's just crazy when you look at the top 13 list here. Only 2 guys basically had, meaning their average, their floor was above those double digits, and that was Rodgers and Mahomes.
yeah, the top 2. Well, I mean,
So
Rodgers,
it means you knew what you were basically getting
right.
when either one of them started.
I mean, and the thing is, you got guys like Deshaun Watson, a little bit of Patrick Mahomes, Cam Newton, the guys that are in this top 13 that were a rush threat as well.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers was early on, but once he got hurt, I mean, in that first game or whatever, he kind of didn't see it. He wasn't his mobility. He didn't use his mobility as much as he had, obviously, in the past. So
Russell
Wilson's in there. He's an interesting guy, that's for sure. He was struggling at the beginning of the year, but then he came on about, I'd say, halfway through the season. He rounded the corner.
They always do. See, that's how Seahawks do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So
They had a new philosophy there, though. They're going to it's a run the ball first team. So.
And they are a true committee.
Yeah. There's Carson gets the majority, if you want to call it that, but it's not like he's getting like 75 and somebody's getting 10 and somebody's getting another 10, another 5
it's
or
like
whatever.
30,
yeah.
And
Penny's going to be, I think, utilized a lot more next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they're going to probably go heavy on Carson and Penny, and it's going to be Mike Davis. It'll be the third guy in the rotation. So
hey, whatever works for him.
Right.
And the defense has transitioned into kind of a different mindset as well. They're not so secondary heavy, if that makes sense. Like they don't have the Cam Chancellor. It's all pass rush.
Again,
pass rush and linebackers.
You got Wagner in there, man.
Yeah.
That dude's a monster.
So, all right. So number 7, Andrew Luck. I mean, I know we talked him down and we weren't 100% sure on what we were going to get from him, but we all ranked him, banked on. You had said that you were banking on that he wasn't going to be there for the first couple games. So that's why you had him at 14. I banked on that he was going to be there from the beginning, which put him. That's why I had him at top 10, at number 10. And you were kind of in the middle. You weren't sure how many games, if he was going to miss any, or if he was going to maybe miss 1 or 2. So you had him at 12. So you guys both kind of banked on him not being 100% for the first couple games.
The injury.
Right. So, and I just I went the opposite and banked on that he was going to be ready to go, but put him at 10. He was our consensus 12, and he comes in at number 7, so not horribly off. So, but yeah, I mean, he had a good year, even though it wasn't, I mean, you didn't see him chuck the ball a ton down the field, and a lot of it was kind of short intermediate throws at the beginning of the season. Then it kind of rounded the corner, and he started throwing a little bit more, a little bit farther, and then he kind of had some big plays. So, but Ebron coming in evolved quickly and made that offense kind of move.
But when you have 8 straight games of 3 touchdowns or more,
Yeah.
you're doing something right.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, Marlon Mack came on at the beginning of the year, and then Nyheim Hines and them came in and kind of did their duty when they were given the opportunity. But, I mean, the offense primarily was Luck to Hilton, Luck to Ebron.
That's it.
Yep.
And then sprinkling in a running back here and there. So Doyle really never took off in the offense because he was kind of banged up at times, and Ebron was the focal point out of the 2 tight ends for sure.
Well, I mean, Doyle saw more snaps when both were in. It's just Ebron saw all the red zone.
Right, yeah, especially at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Like when they got in the red zone, it was guaranteed that Ebron was getting the touchdown.
Yeah.
Ebron might only saw like 4 or 5 targets, but there 3 or 4 are going to be in the red zone, and 3 are going to be probably touchdowns.
Yep.
So.
All right, and then number 8, Russell Wilson coming in, and he like we talked about just a second ago, he kind of slowly got off the ground at the beginning of the season. You were like, oh man, is this going to be a struggling offense? The running back group, you didn't know how they were going to use it. Carson was talked about being used, and they cut Thomas Rawls, and Mike Davis was brought in, and Rashad Penny never really took off like you thought he was going to. Like,
not at the beginning of the year.
They drafted him as a first-round running back. You're like, okay, well, he should be the guy. When you spend that kind of draft capital on a running back, he's going to be the guy. Well, it wasn't the case. That's not how they went about it offensively. Doug Baldwin was hurt for a good portion of the season, beginning of the season. It just was not a whole lot of offensive help for Russell Wilson. The offensive line wasn't gelling at all.
An old Dilly Bar went out.
Dilly Bar went in there, and then he got hurt. Man,
hey,
it's been such a long
good
time.
The first 3 weeks of the season.
That he was a stud. He was like,
he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're just like, man.
Then it was good night, Irene.
Yeah, bye.
Right.
I'll catch you guys on the TV.
Yeah. So, Russell Wilson, we had him actually as our consensus number 2.
Yeah.
Across the board.
I just thought the whole offense was going to run through. I mean, obviously the quarterback, but I thought he was going to do more with his legs because there was less passing game. I didn't know what the run game was going to be. I just thought he was for sure going to be the number 2 quarterback.
Listen, we can officially say whiffed on that one.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be back to the old Russell Wilson. We're going to throw the ball more. You're not going to rely on the run, and it just didn't happen.
I mean, I thought it was, like you said, I thought it was going to be a pass first guy, and then if the play broke down, he was going to be the guy scoring with his legs instead of handing the ball off.
That's how it's been since they got rid of beast mode.
Yeah. So, all right. Number 9, Jared Goff. Surprise. Not even going to lie. We didn't even have him in our top 13
I think
ranking.
he was somewhere around our 14, like where Mahomes was at.
Yeah,
right.
I think him and Mahomes were kind of right around the same spot. I think like 16 or 17, wherever it was at. But we were just not. We thought it was going to be the Todd Gurley show, hand the ball off 30 times a game.
Pretty much was. But I mean, Goff played a huge role too.
Well, here's what's funny: Goff would have finished like we thought he would if Cooper Kupp was done all year.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp. I thought he was going to be good. I didn't know he was going to be that good or utilized as much as he was because when he was in the offense, Goff looked great.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
he was
unreal.
A possession guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of like his Jordy Nelson almost.
Who are you going to cover? I mean, you got to watch Gurley out of the backfield. Robert Woods was playing unreal ball this year.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is still the over-the-top guy, and then there's Cooper Kupp just running those sweet routes. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
It was so when he was in, it was clicking. Goff was like, I mean, he was a mainstay. He might have finished in the top 5 if Cooper Kupp stays healthy.
I would say what saved him is the games that he had all 3 of those wide receivers and Gurley all going at the same time because, like you said, I think otherwise he would have been outside the top 13.
Right.
If that was that way from the beginning, but I mean, he ended up having 280, so just 8 points behind Russell Wilson, who struggled. That's the thing. Russell Wilson struggled at the beginning of the season. Jared Goff kind of struggled at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So.
Because Goff wasn't even a top 15 quarterback through your playoffs.
No.
So.
And he was horrible during the playoffs. Like, horrible.
Yeah. I mean, his ceiling or his floor on there is negative points.
Yeah, that's
negative
not good.
-0.3.
Yeah, that's no
It's
bueno.
a bad day.
That's a bad day when you played him on that week.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Number 10, Cam Newton coming in only 2 points behind, or point and some change. We'll just say 2 points behind Jared Goff. So, and Cam Newton actually did what Cam Newton does best, which is what we thought Russell Wilson was going to do.
Yeah.
He threw the ball, but he used his legs in those short yardage and red zones a lot. It was either him or Christian McCaffrey. He really didn't throw a whole lot to in the red zone, comparable to some of these other quarterbacks.
What did he finish? I was going to look up his rushing stats for the
I
year.
think that shoulder injury that he had was worse than what they let on too.
I agree.
Because if you look at the last couple of weeks, or especially in the playoffs, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Like he was way off on his passes. He looked like he was hesitant to run, like he didn't want to take a hit.
Yeah.
It was the CMC show for the playoffs.
I was going to say, Christian McCaffrey was definitely the beneficiary of the Cam Newton season this year, for good or for bad. So, but yeah, we had Cam Newton top 4 consensus. You had him at 6, Blackburn. I had him at 4, and Trimboli had him the highest at 3. And I think had he not been dealing with injuries, and I think had Olsen played the whole year, I think Cam goes into that top 5 talk.
Well, we knew what we had with McCaffrey.
Right.
We thought Olsen, was going to be Mr. Reliable. He had Funchess, and now they had an over-the-top guy in DJ Moore.
Right.
We thought Cam was just going to explode, but
yeah, it just didn't pan out that way. And I don't know at what point he really started kind of, I don't want to say babying, but kind of babying that shoulder a little bit, being a little bit more relaxed about it, not trying to take those hits and not using his body like he had been. I mean, he's a big guy, 6'6", 245 or 250 pounds as a quarterback. That's unreal. So, I mean, he's out there as big as some of these linebackers, like weight-wise and muscle tone-wise and everything else. But I'm just saying, then you see him go into the red zone. Early in the year, he had no fear. But then towards, I think about halfway on, you could tell he was not going to be using his body, throwing his body out there.
What you got?
So here's the difference. So I thought he was rushing less. Last year he rushed for almost 800 yards, 750.
Okay.
But he had 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So we're under 500 rushing yards, and we're down to 4 touchdowns rushing. Well, he still got the high interception rate, which is what my comparison to him and Deshaun Watson was. If he's not going to get the rushing touchdown, which is 6, and the passing touchdown's 4 in most leagues, then his turnovers, his interceptions, they're going to negate.
Right.
It's going to negate too much. And that's exactly what happened. He's down on the rushing end, so now his overall numbers were down.
Yeah.
Where Deshaun Watson didn't turn the ball over as much, so now his passing touchdowns helped
propel him into that top 5. So, makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I think we all just thought Cam Newton, and it was going to be Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey were going to be just running the ball all day, and it just ended up being only Christian McCaffrey, essentially. They got rid of C.J. Anderson, who we thought brought in. I mean, I remember talking early in the year talking about, what does this mean? Well, why would they bring in C.J. Anderson if they're confident that Christian McCaffrey can make it all year?
Yeah.
Well, C.J. Anderson really never – I mean, he had a few games when he first started where he kind of had a good amount of volume work-wise, but it was always Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. I don't feel sorry for C.J. Anderson because he went to a team that's not making the playoffs, and now he's going to Rams.
Yep.
And he had a good game last week.
He's about to make his second start, too.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah. With no Gurley.
He's going to the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, he's on a team that has the potential to make it to the Super Bowl.
He might get a ring.
Yeah. So, number 11, Old Faithful, Phillip Rivers.
Every year.
Yes.
We say it every year.
And he's always on my teams because I wait this long to get a guy.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about him being, spot on. Consensus, number 11. He finished as the 11th quarterback. I had him at 12. Blackburn had him at 10. And Triple A had him 11. So right there, I mean, we all kind of right around the same spot.
I know about Phillip.
He finishes 10 to 12 every year.
Yeah. I mean, and he gets drafted so late. I mean, he's drafted in most like 15-round leagues. He's drafted somewhere between 12 to 14 consistently.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that every year people just let him go, let him by. Then you got guys that are drafting like Russell Wilson early or Aaron Rodgers early, which is fine. But you got Phillip Rivers. I mean, let's see. Now this year, I think is probably the biggest point differential from quarterbacks because over the last couple of years, it's been with him the first place to last place or like from first to 12.
Well, between Rodgers and Rivers this year is 40 points.
Yeah, which is not horrible, but
considering where you were drafting Aaron Rodgers and
probably in the second round in most fantasy leagues,
between 3rd and 5th, and you're getting Rivers in the 12th. That's only 40-point difference.
Yeah.
Which you, in theory, probably got somebody a little bit more points, like a running back or a wide receiver, who's going to score you more on a week-to-week basis over the year.
I was going to say only 2 to 13 on this list is only 70 points.
That's crazy.
That's not
bad.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
So that's why when we talk about if you're not going to get one of these big guys, quarterbacks like a Patrick Mahomes, which nobody expected to be like this.
Yeah, he almost had 400 points. That's,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying if you took we'll just say Aaron Rodgers probably in the second, maybe the 3rd round, where his ADP was before the season started, and or you waited on Phillip Rivers. What did you say? It was 40 points?
Right, 42 points.
To me, I'd take a Phillip Rivers all day if it's a 40-point difference because that 40 points.
Third round, you could take a running back. You could have took a Travis Kelce or whoever.
Right. Yeah, those guys are sitting right there at that point. So
he's not that sexy pick, if that's the word you want to use.
But look at the weapons he's got around him. He's got Gordon. I mean, Hunter Henry went down this year, but at least unless you have Stephen A.
Yeah.
But next year he'll be there. Keenan Allen will be there. The Williams brothers are there.
Yeah.
He's got talent around him.
Right. And they found a reliable running back behind Gordon, not just Austin Eckler. They also got Justin Jackson out of Northwestern who showed up when Eckler was hurt.
Yeah, their offense is going to be nice.
Yeah, their offense, their defense is solid with Ingram and Bosa, and they could potentially add more guys to that defense out of the draft. Yeah, their draft. I mean, they could draft another defensive player and still be all right. So, but yeah, Phillip Rivers sitting there at 268 fantasy points, and that's all throwing because that guy don't run.
No,
so,
not at all. He's terrible.
So I'm just saying, you're looking at from a guy who runs a lot, and Deshaun Watson at 309,
yep,
to Phillip Rivers who does nothing but throw the ball at 266 or 268.
Yep. Right.
It's not that big of a difference when the guy is literally doing nothing but throwing the ball. And he's got a solid running back behind him that he's handing the ball off a ton. So,
true. Here's the stinker of the year.
Yeah, this is it. Kirk Cousins coming in at 12.
Oh no, I got a worse than that on my list. So.
Oh well, Kirk Cousins coming in at 12. We had him a consensus top 6. I had him at 8. Blackburn had him at 7. Trimboli had him as a number 5 quarterback. So. Yeah.
I just thought with the weapons there that he'd be the fantasy darling this year.
I mean, they made Case Keenum look great, and then look what happened. Yeah. I told everybody, Case Keenum goes to Denver. He's not going to be that guy that you've seen in Minnesota.
Right.
No.
I just thought that I really thought more out of Kirk Cousins this year.
And I think they got away from the offense that they had been running with Keenum.
Yeah, I didn't like, what's his name, Filippo or whatever.
Filippo.
Yeah. All their guys took a hit. Kyle Rudolph was non-existent basically all year.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. I don't
Dalvin Cook, I mean, granted he did get injured, but when he was healthy, they didn't use him as much.
Right.
Yeah.
The only one that benefited from his style is Thielen was pretty steady all year, and Latavius Murray.
Yeah. I mean, Stephon Diggs had highs and lows, but, I mean, Adam Thielen was pretty much the guy. That's what was weird. Adam Thielen was the guy for the first, I think, half of the season, and then he got that hamstring injury, and then when
Diggs was still banged up at the same time.
Right, and then when Diggs came back and Thielen played the rest of the year, Diggs was the guy the second half to have. That's what's crazy about fantasy football. You got somebody like Adam Thielen, who was he was a wide receiver 1 or 2 for I don't know how long, like the guy in fantasy football wide receiver points, and then it just kind of rounded the corner about halfway through the season, and he just kind of was average the rest of the year.
Yep.
He never had those big games like you saw early on. So, yeah, Kirk Cousins was definitely a disappointment in fantasy football this year.
Yeah,
like
I think everyone in Minnesota is pretty disappointed right now too.
Well, we talked off the show. First year quarterbacks going into a new scheme. It's not going to be what you expected, but I think he'll bounce back next year.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes into the fact that I think Filippo was basically using the Minnesota gig as kind of like a stepping stone to eventually get a head coaching job, which whether it was at the end of this season or in 2 years. So I think plus you paid Kirk Cousins to come in for how much you paid him, you kind of paid him to have to throw the ball. So I think they were kind of like playing to both sides, playing to the fact that they paid this guy so much money, and I think Filippo was calling the plays not so much favorable for the team as much as what looks good on film for his resume, I guess, in the big picture. But I could be wrong, because once he was out, the offense kind of went back to the what you saw with Case Keenum, and that offense kind of picked up a little bit, and they started doing well. And Kirk Cousins had a good couple games back-to-back towards the end of the year.
Well, they utilized the run.
Right.
And they set up their pass off the run, which is what that offense has been built on.
Cook a lot more in the passing game.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a game where Cook and Latavius Murray were both fantasy viable in the same week. So,
and then that also adds into Kirk Cousins' down season. It was also because Cook wasn't healthy all year, and that's who I was hoping out of the backfield would see a lot of passes would be Cook.
Just don't lose faith in Cousins. It took him 3 years, and he passed for 4,000 yards with no-name receivers basically in Washington.
He'll finish higher next year.
Yeah.
He'll be okay.
So, all right. So that was the top 12. So that was your QB1s for fantasy football this year. Mahomes, Ryan, Roethlisberger, Watson, Rodgers, Breeze, Luck, Wilson, Goff, Newton, Rivers, and Cousins. And just a bit outside, none other than, as people refer to him as, the GOAT, Tom Brady, finishing at 13 with 254 points. Well, I'll be nice. 254.3 fantasy points on the year.
Yeah.
He won a stretch of games without throwing a touchdown pass, so.
Yeah.
We had him as our consensus 3, though.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I'm like, man, we had him. I mean, we really thought that we were going to kind of see a good off. I mean, we figured that the offense was going to be going.
Well, we didn't know Robo Gronk was going to be trotting around the field making potholes everywhere.
Listen, and then in our defense, we did say was the off-season stuff with Gronk, the team itself, the wide receivers, was it going to play anything? We always said, it's Belichick, it's the Patriots, it's Tom Brady. They're going to figure it out. It's going to be business as normal. Well, it wasn't business as usual.
Well, Edelman was suspended first 4.
Yeah.
Sony Michel was out for the first couple games with the injury.
Was out. Then they were flipping back and forth. They should have started James White all year. I thought.
Yes.
I mean, he tore it up. Then they traded for
Josh Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon came in,
and he was kind of like he had like maybe 1 or 2 games where he was okay, and the rest he was just out there running routes. And then he's done.
Chris Hogan was
there.
He had highs and lows. Yeah, I mean, pretty much he just showed up.
I mean, we thought
Cordell Patterson, I think, had better stats than him.
I mean, Hogan really like had overall. I mean, he had a good couple games at the beginning of the year, I think, when Edelman was out. But then once Edelman came back, it was kind of. I mean, if I remember, Hogan had 1 good game, and then he kind of had average to below average the last couple games before Edelman came back. And we thought, oh, with Edelman coming back, that should help him because now he's not going to have to be the guy, and he didn't.
No. He was gone.
Did his best David Copperfield and just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I drafted Gronk early, and that's just terrible.
Yeah. Well, we really thought Gronk, if he was healthy all year, should have been a top.
That's why I hate that number 1 spot, because you have to make that decision in round 2.
Yeah.
You're going to take a shot at Gronk, who you could, in most years, you could use as your wide receiver.
Right.
Because you get that kind of production. Or are you going to wait? But then if you wait on, I mean, I know it's a tight end spot, but if you wait, you're guaranteeing yourself not to get a top spot, not a top guy there.
Yeah.
Well, the tight end class overall was pretty weak.
Well, and that's why I also thought it was a good
Kelsey and Ertz
at the time.
Right, I did too. So,
but
yeah, who would have thought that that's how the offense would have panned out this year in good old Foxborough?
Yeah. You think he's done?
Oh, he's never going to be the old Gronk.
Well, I'm saying Brady.
I think Brady rolls out at the end of the year. I could be wrong, but I just think that, especially
if they don't get to the Super Bowl.
I think if they go to the Super Bowl, obviously he's done for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that if he goes 1 and done, you might see him back, if that makes sense, where they play 1 game and they're out and they lose type thing.
I don't know. I
think they need to blow the whole thing up.
Well, I think it's 1 and done, I think he's done in general, because I think him getting there is not as easy this year as it's been in the past.
Right.
They see there's major holes in this team. And actually, I agree with what Josh has said. I think they need to blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, you need to start at the beginning. And unfortunately, I think going forward, whenever they decide to blow things up, I think that it's going to be without Gronk, without Edelman, without Brady, without Belichick even. I think those 4 guys are – that's when you have to blow things up, whether it's through cutting or trading or whatever. Those guys need to be out of the system for you to really start over, because you can't have those 4 major guys who have been part of the dynasty still there, going through a new transition.
Well, Edelman's what? He's in the 30 club now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gronk acts like he's in the 60 club.
Yeah.
He's
at the nursing home sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just blow it up and rebuild.
Yeah.
Should have kept Jimmy G.
Listen, can they throw some of that dynamite in Cincinnati, though? Because we seem to be staying put. I guess
I heard a rumor today.
You're all right. Marvin Lewis is there.
I heard a rumor on the radio today that if they do fire Marvin Lewis, they're going to give him a front office position.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do.
Hugh Jackson the head coach.
Yeah, no. And then when that all happens, I'm telling you right now, I'm not one to say jump ship. I'm done. I am done.
The Titanic has hit the iceberg.
I think
because they're not moving in the right direction.
I think a lot of Bengal fans are in that position.
Yeah, it's unfair. They're not. It's unfair to the fans out there because it's not a move in the right direction. It's not a positive mindset. It doesn't show that we're willing to make a change. You know, I thought when the Carson Palmer thing came out, we stuck with Marvin. Okay, I said, okay, whatever. We stood our ground now. This is the route we're going to go. We're not going to go with Palmer. We're going to go with Marvin's side. Great. We brought in Andy Dalton, which has actually been a decent quarterback for us. Right? And then as it went on, the 8-8 season just kept filing, and I'm like, all right, when are we going to flip the switch on this? When are we going to do something different? You know, that's what a good team does. You know, they go 8-8 or they make the playoffs, they don't win. All right, flip it. Let's go.
4 playoffs in a row, 1 and dones.
Well, I think in that window, and for good or for bad for the Cincinnati fan or team, that was their window.
Yeah.
I think the window has officially closed, and I think like they need to do in New England, I think you need to just cut some guys and start fresh with some new faces in there, whether that's the coach, the quarterback. I mean, you got a good running back in Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
You got A.J. Green, who, even though he is aging, if you can go get somebody like Atlanta did with Calvin Ridley and pair him with an aging wide receiver.
They got Tyler Boyd.
Right. So I'm just saying, get some. John Ross is nothing against him personally, but he's not transitioning to the NFL
Bengals
well.
need offensive line.
Yes, bad.
That's the big point.
Well, and that's the thing. They thought they can keep drafting them because we've had good drafts and they've just plugged right in. But you just can't start losing, Pro Bowl offensive linemen and just think that.
Well, the tackles this year for the Bengals were kind of, The interior was not the worst part of the offense, at least.
No. I thought drafting Price was going to set us up for success, and then he was hurt a big chunk in the season, so it's a train wreck right now.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, if Hugh's there, I'm out.
So
I'm not kidding.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. For good or for bad, unfortunately, I think that's the Bengals front office, if they want to truly transition into a team that's to go back onto the rise as a team that they had a couple years ago, they've got to make the offense better. Whether that's offensive line, a new quarterback,
got to be better.
The defense is old now.
Well, it's not just that. The defense is on the field so much. They can only do so much.
True.
Well, I just think in general, the mindset of the team in general has got to be changed. There's got to be a different direction.
True.
Throwing the same thing against the wall. What's that? Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah,
that's what Cincinnati's doing every year.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a note. 2 signings happened today. Quincy Enunwa signed a major $36 million extension with the Jets.
Wow.
And Damian Williams with Kansas City
he'll be in the mix.
So he'll be Ware is actually a free agent at the end of the year. Right. So you just brought in Sharkandrick West back for probably not a whole lot of.
He's not a threat though.
No, not to Williams, but I'm just saying he's cheap enough that you're not going to have to pay him serious money, that you can keep him behind Damian Williams.
Yep, and they can draft a running back like they have been.
Damian's only 26 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So. And he was proven the last couple playoff games that he can carry the load.
Yeah. I would say go get yourself another wide receiver to pair up with Tyreek Hill. If you can get Damian Williams, you got a good offensive line, you got a good defense that's got better in the back half of the season. Pro Bowl tight end. You got Tyreek Hill. You got Holmes.
Fantasy quarterback.
Yes, I'm just saying, get yourself a complimentary wide receiver to Tyreek Hill. Nothing against Conley or Watkins and those guys, but they're not a compliment. They're just out there.
Get rid of Sammy Watkins.
Yeah,
I think you could find that in free agency.
Yes,
there's going to be some guys out there.
Devontae Parker is a name I keep hearing that everybody's. I think he's going to end up like an Amari Cooper.
If you can get him out of the team the situation he's in.
He's
in a rut.
Issue, though.
Well, that is also partially his issue. He's not fully dedicated. But if he's not fully dedicated because he's tired of losing or he's tired of being on a horrible team,
I don't think
it could be the Miami
I don't think he's happy where he's at. Same thing like Amari Cooper, because we've seen that. Amari Cooper was Pro Bowler, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden this year he just lays an egg, gets traded to Dallas, and boom, he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
With a guy like Devontae Parker, what I would do is put a big incentive contract in front of him saying, listen, we're going to pay you this, but if you do X, Y, and Z, we'll give you all this.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'd make it heavy incentive based.
I think that's the kind of player he is.
He's young too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, so that's it for the year in review, quarterback specific. Next week we'll be talking about running back, so that'll be the more exciting, I'm assuming, discussions just in general, because I think we're going to see some guys that we were like, wow, surprised, but we'll be able to kind of dissect a little bit as to why they were up there a little bit. Yeah. So
maybe I won't be as wrong as I was with Matt Stafford this year.
Golly. Yeah, that was bad. I mean, but who would have thought that he would be that bad this year?
I didn't think that 2/3 of his wide receivers would be gone and
traded and or hurt,
Where did Stafford finish?
Outside the top 15.
Yeah, he was like 17 or 18, I think. So
it's
not good.
He was terrible.
Yeah. So all right, so that's all we got for today's show. Thanks for tuning into the show, whether it's the podcast, YouTube, or on DATV. You can follow us on our personal accounts on Twitter at JPickleTH8FF, at JBlackburnTH8FF, and at FTrimTH8FF. We're here all off season. You can tweet at us if you got you're in a dynasty league or you're in keeper leagues or off season stuff. We're here for that. That's what.
Or you just want to talk football.
Yeah, we're always open. I mean, to chit chat. We had a lot of people Twitter's been kind of busy the last couple of weeks. So,
hey, I've been fielding a lot of questions about league issues.
Yeah,
which
that's what I
love hearing, because that's how, that's how I figure out our own league stuff too, is hearing what other people do. So just giving suggestions. Yeah,
most definitely. So, all right, you guys got anything else?
That's it. Thanks, guys. It's been a good season.
Yep. We'll see you guys next week for the year in review running backs edition.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, yeah.